So, Treyarch has updated Cold War Zombies yesterday, and of course, the update probably got to be what people's interest. Currently, since they're basically hyping up this main quest reward for a week, and of course, this is all about this reward you get for completing every main quest that Cold War Zombies has to offer. Of course, that means you had to complete Die Machine, Firebase C, Outbreak Main Quest 1 and 2, Mauer the Totem, and Firebase C. And once you complete all the Easter eggs before they release the update, you're pretty much good to go from the get-go of heading to the site. So they didn't really particularly tell you where to go for it. It says it's a secret, although it's not really much of a secret location or new discovery. Instead, it's just hidden. It's just somewhere in plain sight in open field. Basically, if you just basically load up Outbreak and try to get the map Zoo. And if you get it in round 1, you're pretty much lucky. If not, you can do the Outbreak Collapse, where you have a map vote. And if you get Sue, you can click on the map Sue. But if you're trying to get it, there's also a few of these wooden monkey masks that you can see through each region. If you manage to find one of them, they basically tell you to meet us there. And of course, if you go head to the beacon and use warp to the next region, you automatically get Sue. And this is the purpose right here. Now, of course, there's 6 obelisks, which basically represents the main quest you completed. So if you complete all of them, you get to make a pact, which you can have an epic loadout weapon. And your rarities to increase to level 3. What does this mean? What it means is that from now on, your next games will be to tier 4. Instead of being tier 1, it will be tier 4. So instead of having a red name of your weapon, like the growl for the red, for example, it will be now a purple growl. That's only affects your loadout weapons. It won't affect anything from wall buys or mystery box. It's only your loadout weapon. So you can see I load up the next game and I have a Mac 10 with a purple name. So that's tier 4. And of course tier 4 just means you just do a little bit more damage. So that's almost equivalent of starting with a level 1 Pack-a-Punch weapon, which is actually pretty insane. Not too crazy, but definitely insane. What makes it even more insane is that this applies to all modes, not just Outbreak, also include Round Base and Onslaught. You will start your weapon at tier 4 of your loadout weapon. So, for example, if you're playing Outbreak in round 1, and you come across with a Fury Crystal event, you can theoretically get your weapon to maximum within under 10 minutes or 5 minutes if you actually get one spawn closest to you. So you can actually max up your gun to tier 5 within 5 minutes. And normally, I would incentivize players to save this Fury Crystal event if you have it, your weapon to at least tier 3 or tier 4. And normally I see a lot of randoms go for this event and they fail miserably. I'm trying to upgrade their weapon to from tier 1 to tier 2 being a green color. Like, why? You can easily just upgrade your weapon tiers by using the salvage, the green ones, since they're more easier to come by. But now with this nice reward we got, you can now able to get your weapon to maximum tier. And you don't have to worry about much of your salvage. You can able to invest your salvage into monkey bombs, the Kaismir, or even your armor. Not only helps with effects for an outbreak, but it's also pretty good for speedrun strats now. Normally, most speedrunners would carry would be a Spaz 12, just because of the DPS it has to offer. But thanks for it to be in tier 4, they don't have to spend too much point or the salvage just to upgrade their gun, because they already have it right from the get-go. This is a pretty huge deal. And actually is pretty awesome to have. And another cool thing for at least for Onslaught, since most of the time trying to get the Ether tool is definitely takes a while to get in terms of more elites you have to kill, all you need to do is acquire just one Ether tool to actually get your maximum gun, as opposed to trying to get a lot, or trying to get lucky enough to get a gun on the ground with a different rarity. So it does play a huge role of saving your salvages, as well as the time that you invest to it. So you can literally get into the action more quickly than you do from your previous games. And I have to say, I'm going to have a lot more fun time with this now. And it's not only for myself, but it's good for anybody. This is good for people who still need to level up their weapons, and people who still want to go for that Dark Ether camo grind. Now they have a tier 4 weapon at their disposal, which does a lot more damage than their tier 1 weapons. They're definitely going to have a much easier take when it comes to doing headshots and other challenges involving with a lot of kills. This changes so much. Even though the reward may be very little we got, but it means a lot of stuff in the long run for many different types of players. This is great for all of us, that we don't have to waste so many of our salvages just to upgrade our weapon, of our loadout weapon, from tier 1 to tier 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Not only in terms of I have to spend a lot of stuff on salvage, but also spend a lot of time to get to that point. And the other rewards we got with it as well are 12 albums, which are the character profile pictures that anytime they do like a radio chat, you see their faces as they talk. We also get a Dark Ops calling card called the Pact, and a watch which has a functional headshot counter or tracker. But that's not the only thing they added in this update. They also included the Abomination and Outbreak. And I do have to say, they are a lot more tankier compared to the Megaton and the Panzer Soldats when it comes using the dielectric weapon. Hell, I even think the Abomination is more of a tank than Odar. But I do find their weaknesses, of course, by playing a Forsaken. And the two weaknesses that Abomination had for the two elements are both Toxic and Fire. So if you have Brain Rot or Nay Pumpers, you're at least doing a little bit more damage to the Abomination, especially if you're hitting in their mouths. But of course, using the special weapons or support weapons are a lot better to have. Of course, having Ring of Fire is nice. Death Machine, Flamethrower works pretty well with it against the Abomination because, well, the Death Machine just does a lot of damage. And of course, the Flamethrower, since it's a fire type weapon, it will definitely melt Abomination health quite fast. But I never really countered their HVT variants yet, which I want to see what they look like. I bet they look like very intimidating, and I want to see what type of name they have for these abominations. But yeah, you could definitely tell the wonder weapons don't seem to pack enough punch, even though they're already at pack punch level 3, and the abomination is still kicking ass, is still standing. So it probably is only a matter of time until Treyarch can actually add the other 2 wonder weapons into Outbreak, bringing the Cerberus and the Surlax. But yeah, overall, this permanent upgrade, I think it's definitely nice of a reward. I don't really see it as a super Easter egg award because that's not even close to Director's Cut. It's definitely better than Black Ops 3's RK5 reward, and I would say it was even better than Call of World War II's reward, even though they're just cosmetic, and of course you do start with the, an SMG. They had still one of the strongest starting loadouts in that game, being the Wolfer P38, when you transfer into the Grey Ghost. Still one of the most damaging weapons, still one of the most devastating weapons. But of course, it doesn't even come close of being Director's Cut, which I still think Director's Cut still remains king in terms of super Easter egg rewards. And hopefully that Treyarch finally finish off with all their updates to both Cold War and Vanguard. Hopefully that their next game they have a lot more time, and hopefully there will be no other bullshit dealing with Activision and other shenanigans, because they've been through a lot over the years, and I just really pray best for Treyarch to hopefully they can get everything fresh up again, and hopefully they could have a lot more development time for their next game, and hopefully there's going to be something awesome they can make. And I hope it's definitely something that's way better than Cold War Zombies. As much as I enjoy Cold War Zombies, I would love to see improvements over Cold War into their next installment. But only time will tell. And as for the reward goes, it almost makes me feel like there's gotta be more of these rewards, but I feel like this could be just it. Like, Treyarch doesn't have to add this reward in the first place, but they still doing it because, well, they probably see a lot more players playing Cold War than Vanguard Zombies. As for the other reasons, I have just no idea. But yeah, that's gotta be it about the reward in terms of the completing all the main quests. I do have to say, it's definitely a nice reward, and definitely going to be helpful for a lot of people. And I definitely going to see probably a lot of speedrun strats now with a tier 4 weapon, maybe with a Spaz 12. And of course, perhaps able to see a lot of people's accomplishment of getting the Dark Keeper camo more easily now, thanks to having a much more stronger weapon to begin with. After all, you don't want to think about what's inside the box, but also think what's outside of the box.